Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Excuse me for not being physically present. My computer blew up, so I'm just using a bit of tech to get through. But as you can see visually, my two male guests, which are two magicians, Brian Barrett and J.S. Garrett. And welcome both to the show. We're going to be speaking tonight about EA coveting and losing his platform, become a living god on YouTube, and various thoughts about it. And I'll start off with you, JS. What do you think? Because I know you're quite close with Eric, and
Yeah. I mean, we're really good friends as well as colleagues, and the whole YouTube deplatforming him thing is actually getting sorted out. He received an email from YouTube the other day stating that they were going to reinstate his channel, so that's actually getting cleared up. And Become a
oh,
Living God is still online, still doing business, and this actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because not only are we moving videos to other types of platforms other than YouTube, but with less restrictions and things like that. But it's also given EA and Become a Living God quite a bit of attention. So we're actually not upset about it. It's turned out to be a good thing. And that's something something magicians do, is turn unfortunate situations to their advantage. So.
yeah, that's excellent. Oh, interesting. So, what would you say to somebody, Jess, who wanted to become a magician? Say they thought, for example, that they were having a bit of bad luck. Say, for instance, I mean, I've had lots of bad luck around my car. I had one car that kept having things wrong with it, and the mechanics are scratching their head, and it was more or less had to leave it by the side of the road. Now I've got a different car and it looks like the same thing's going on. So I kind of think, maybe it's a curse on it. What do you do in those sort of situations? What does somebody who isn't a magician, what do they do to find out whether they've had a curse put on them?
Okay, so I actually have a video. It's a how-to video where I walk you through how to do a reverse curse. It's quite simple, and I've been sending that video to people who contact me complaining about the symptoms of baneful magic, and every single person that has done that now swears by it. So I'll be sending you that video. It's a simple not magic ritual. It takes about 15 minutes to do. And what it does is it completely wipes your slate clean. Any type of curse or spiritual bondage that has been placed against you, even things, excuse me, even things like anxiety and depression can be bound in this manner and lifted from the person. And if you are in fact dealing with a curse, the coolest thing about this ritual is it amplifies that curse and hurls it back to the sender. So you don't have to know who placed the curse on you, and it doesn't matter how long ago it was placed or anything like that. After doing this simple not magic ritual, you typically will feel like a brand new person. So that would be the first thing that I would suggest someone to do. The second thing would be to make spiritual allies, to make powerful allies of protection and wellness, to essentially walk through life with you as guardians, to watch over and protect you and help you in ways of intuition as far as decision making and things like that. They'll whisper to you in your ear and give you good advice. And as long as you are respectful to these entities and you treat them as equals, you don't try to subjugate them, then you won't have any problems whatsoever. So as far as someone wanting to get into magic, then I would tell them to find their drug of choice.
Hmm.
Is a euphemism
Well,
there. You
it's
wanna you
it's
wanna
yeah, it's interesting because it's interesting you should say that because I, was having trouble with somebody, and Brian passed me the sigil that you had done for Shem Yaza,
yeah.
that you drawn and channeled, and I managed to. He came through. I did the whole. I lit the candles. I'm naturally psychic anyway, and I'm a natural medium. I don't know if it's easy for everybody, but he came through, and I was actually attacked by. I've worked as a journalist, and I got to know the serial killer Kenneth Bianchi, and he had I'd done a book on him, and recently in the prison where he's at, they've given him an electronic tablet. So he's allowed to email, he's allowed to ring England, bizarrely. So he rang me, and after he'd spoke to me, it was literally just about 5 minutes. I felt almost like I had rats crawling all over me. And I thought, whoa, what the hell is this? It seemed like a psychic attack. So I called on my jinn, and my jinn couldn't do anything about it. And I was literally seeing really horrible things flash in front of me really intensely. Then I called on Shem Yaza, and suddenly, bang, everything went flat. It was like a still lake. And I mean, just thank God. So that sigil you drew, I mean, that's amazing.
Thank you, thank you. And it represents strength, power, protection, attack in every direction. So I mean, it's the closest thing to like a universal magical tool that I've ever come across, and it's probably the most powerful protection seal I've ever heard of as well. So I'm glad that worked for you. And yeah, I have no doubt that you were being attacked by this person based on what you've told me. Something about serial killers, a lot of them, if you've studied serial killers, they seem to have some type of supernatural power about them that
Yeah.
shields and protects them and allows them to get away with these things for as long as they do. Because let's face it, in modern times, getting away with murder is pretty hard with modern
Yeah.
forensics. So
Yeah.
someone who's going to kill, dozens of people and get away with it, they definitely have something evil inside them that is guiding them and watching over them. And yeah, I'm sure that this man figured out a way to attack you through connecting through that technology. Because even just sitting here talking, face to face or on audio, that's a really powerful spiritual connection. And entities can travel through electronics and hone in on you. So that's probably exactly what he was doing.
Do you think that he did it just to attack me?
Yeah, I would say so. And for entertainment as well, sickos tend to really get off on terrorizing people. So I'm surprised that serial killer is able to have a tablet inside prison. That's
Yeah.
mind-blowing to me.
I know it is to me. I mean, especially, and it's Washington State Penitentiary. I know here in the UK, no way would that happen. I know a guy who had a mobile in prison, and he was only in a, Cat B prison, and he literally got, months added on to his sentence. So the idea that they're giving, a famous serial killer, it's like bizarre that he can email wherever he wants, and literally the email, it's like a text, and they've got an app. It's called JPay for the American, how they talk to people outside over there in the States, and it's called JPay. So you can have it as an app on your phone, and literally I could be sitting here, send an email through it to Kenneth Bianchi, the Hillside Strangler, and he can in minutes come back to me. And that really, for someone like that who has got something inside them, it's really not a good idea. It's pretty poisonous.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's scary. It really is. Like, I worked in a penitentiary for a while back after I got out of the army, and yeah, they were not allowed to have cell phones or anything like that. I've never heard of an American prison where you could have a tablet or a cell phone. So that's really interesting. I'm not sure how that happened, but hey, it's
I
probably not
think
a good
I,
thing.
I think that they don't take into considering the spiritual side of things. I think they just think, oh, well, it's okay, and let him have that, and perhaps he's been good. And I know they had a little booth where they could go, but now it's moved up. And now he's got it in his cell. But they don't take into consideration what these people host. I mean, he had attacked me before, where literally the attack had gone on for like weeks. And I was doing things like going and sitting with a friend and having coffee, and I'd be looking at them, and I'd see them like with no head on. And then I'd feel him in my head like laughing. And I just couldn't stop it. It was really strong. And Brian told me that it was probably his gin.
Yeah.
In your opinion, do you think it was a gin or something like Azazel or something like that, or something worse,
It definitely sounds like a jinn, and Brian and I have had conversations about classifications of entities in the past, and you seem to think that all things are jinn, Brian?
Well, yeah, but it's sorry, I was enjoying listening to you so much, JS. I just shut up. Sorry, I learned
No,
so
that's fine.
much.
That's fine.
It's really cool. Yeah, we all. I mean, the structure of jinn means jannah, meaning hidden. Yeah, okay, and the Arabic system is so precise and so methodical. It doesn't leave anything for chance. It deals with the elemental forces. It deals with astrological forces. It deals with everything, and they've got it to a fine art. And essentially, when you read the ancient texts, it's very easy to understand that Goethe and other magical works are just really repetitions of these ancient texts, to put it bluntly. And
Yeah.
so, if that's the case, then realistically what's happened is this very old methodical style of witchcraft has been twisted into various other forms. But having researched, I 100% believe that the if you like the original daemon is probably the jinn, in my humble opinion. I don't know what you think, but I think
I think you might be right. I've gotten to the point where I don't try to even put labels on entities, because angel, demon, jinn, those are labels that we put on them, and I find that each of these beings, have their own personality and character traits, So I mean, I don't even worry with the labels at this point anymore. And there's rituals that I do where I actually summon demons and angels into the same circle for the same purpose. And I find that they work very well together under a lot of circumstances, which is extremely interesting. You would think based on lore that would have like a backfire or something.
Okay,
But
if you don't mind, I can explain this and why it works. Okay.
okay.
I translated a very early Arab text, and in the Arab text, it says that essentially it works like this: that the angel commands the jinn. Okay. So essentially, how the person is, how you are, is ushered by the angel. The angel then tells the jinn, if you've been behaving in a satisfactory way, then the jinn will get you good things. If you've been something of a rotter, then the jinn will do bad things to you. So so those elements do work well. But this text was literally thousands and thousands of years old. So I agree with you. It's very difficult to label because it's like labeling electricity: good electricity, bad electricity. This electricity is called this electricity is called that. And I think the other thing as well is that when you are an adept, the other side of the coin is that the standing in the circle and calling things is pretty redundant, really, because in all honesty, I mean, yes, it helps with concentration, but quite often they just come through. They come through. Yeah, I mean, the other night I was working with this client, and an angel energy came through. I didn't even ask for it to come through, and and once again, no matter how many times it happened, I was very, very surprised. It wasn't malicious. It just came through, and it was like absolutely amazing. And I think that's the other side as well about the magic, that when you actually understand that you are, to coin what the Hindus say, Brahman, that you are the God, you create this, then you understand that the forms in front of you are parts of you, if not are you. I mean, sorry, it's very, very complicated, and I don't want to sort of give my philosophy to people, but the Hindu philosophy of this tends to fit in pretty well. Also, the Arabs discuss about this as well. Although they see them as entities that are separate, they also see a spiritual link as well. Like many adepts who worship jinn end up as jinn. So, this is quite interesting.
You
Sorry, it's
mentioned
a little bit too deep.
you
Sorry,
mentioned
Christine.
Shiva. You mentioned Shiva a while ago, Brian. Would you say that Shiva was a jinn? I think you said that you thought it was Satan.
Okay, right. Look, all right. Shiva's really complicated. Okay, right. To understand Shiva, Shiva literally translates to mean nothing. Okay. The easiest way to understand Shiva is that the stars are floating in the universe. Then what are they floating in? Well, they're floating in nothing. That is Shiva. Yeah. Okay. But the duality part of Shiva is Shakti as well. So Shiva is both masculine and feminine energy. Yeah. So it's very hard to understand what Shiva is. When you read ancient texts on Shiva, like the Shiva Sutras, they describe parts of Shiva as being continual flame in a circle. So, so realistically, and then you've got the Hindu side of it, which says that Shiva is both life and death, but he dances death, hence the dancing Shiva. So, I mean, realistically, Shiva is a very, very difficult entity to put your money on, because essentially Shiva is nothing, yet he is everything, to put it bluntly. So is it a philosophical concept, or is it actually a being? I think the jury's out, to put it bluntly.
Well, also he's the blue color, which is the color of the Majid, right?
Yeah, but I think the blue is goes back thousands of years. Like for example, they often called kings and queens blue-blooded, and I think that was due to the close interbreeding that they ended up with like bluish skin. Yeah. So I think over the many thousands of years ago, this was seen as high caste, or the color of the royalty. But yeah, I mean, sort of, there are many cases that you can read of in like recent history, sort of 15, 16, 1700s, where royalty do have blue skin, and there was a famous case of some redneck family that were all blue. It was the same. It was the same trick. They're bred so closely that their pigment turned blue. So yeah. So there you go. It's. I think that's the thing. Is that these pictures are not just pictures; they're allegories, and they also teach us so much about what has happened. Which is fascinating.
I've got a question for JS. If you're calling and you were saying for beginners to start off maybe trying to connect with an entity, how do you know that you're not going to turn out like one of these serial killers? Because, they obviously have something come into them. So if you're calling on an entity, which is what, it puts me off talking, although I'm not a man and I'm not going to, obviously I'm a girl, I'm not going to go out raping women. It sort of does scare me that if I'm communing with something like Shemyaza, for instance, that I'm going to, have him come into me and suddenly I'm going to go out, murdering people. Maybe that's a bit silly, but surely it's a risk if you look at these serial killers who do it. What's your opinion on that?
All right. Well, first of all, you want to do your research before you just start evoking spirits and calling them into you. You want to know, you want to at least have a good idea what you are dealing with and what you're working with. So I would definitely read up on whatever spirit you are interested in making contact with. And if it resonates with you, then you might draw their sigil and meditate on it in order to get a feel for that energy. And then if you still feel good about it, chances are if it feels good, then it is good. And if it feels bad, then it's probably bad. You have to really trust your instincts and intuition. At least that's how I do it. And I'll say with entities like Shemyaza and Belial, I've undergone full possession with both of these entities in the past, and none of them have ever asked me to do anything awful or compelled me to do anything awful. I really don't think that the things that compel these serial killers to behave in this way, I don't think we can call them demons or daemons. I think the word demon means teacher, and the word angel means messenger. So it's like the angel brings you the knowledge, and then the demon teaches you how to utilize that knowledge in your daily life. And it's been 100% beneficial for me in my life. The types of entities that would drive you to kill somebody just for the sake of doing it, I don't think those are angels or demons. I think those are something else. They are some type of archonic parasite that takes root within the human mind, body, and soul, and essentially incarnates itself into that person, merges with their consciousness to where the serial killer doesn't know the difference between himself and the entity that's driving him to do it. But he also has access to that power because he's merged with it. So I mean, if I'll say from my experience that entities like Shimyaza are 100% safe as long as you're being respectful to them. They've never steered me wrong. So that would be an excellent place to start for someone that has never done anything like this before. Another excellent place to start would be Raphael. They call him the divine surgeon. He's referred to as an archangel. And that's the entity that I work with to heal people of physical illnesses. And I've undergone possession with him as well. It was absolutely beautiful and very healing for me at the same time.
Because it's very interesting to me that you mentioned this sort of entity which enters people. Obviously, being an academic, I read and read and read, and I read about the life of a famous outlaw from America. Oh God, he was the most famous one. Not Garrett, your namesake. It'll come to me in a minute. Sorry, being old.
The kid, Jesse James.
No. He's very low profile. He was a preacher, ironically, and a killer at the same time. Yeah. Sort of like, but anyway, he was brought up with the Indians, and one of the Indians came to his uncle and said, he has the dark power. Yeah, many thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, we'd have kicked him out the tribe until he got rid of the dark power. Yeah, and essentially, they laughed about it, but he killed his first man at 13. He was only 13 years of age. He killed his, and then he went on to kill, I think he'd killed more people than sort of, legitimately, because they know this, because the Pinkertons followed him. But it was really fascinating. The other thing as well is that they get this kind of really weird supernatural power with the dark wind. And he was shot at point blank range, and he didn't die. Sort of like, I'll have to sort of like remember his name, because it's sorry, this is one of the savages of getting old.
So what is it? Dark wind? You just called it dark wind.
Yeah, the dark wind. It just enters somebody, and it's like. It's unexplainable. Shamans understand it, but it's like JS said. It's like something and nothing. But it's very, very hard to describe. But maybe it's archonic. I don't know. Probably.
And what's archonic, JS? What does that mean? Did you mean like an AI, like a kind of a black goo, kind of sentient kind of?
No. What I'm talking about is it's like when people talk about like the archons, that's like this alien parasitic force that seems to have infiltrated our reality and turned everything upside down. Because what's right is wrong in this day and age, and what's wrong is right, and nothing really makes sense. And people blame this on an alien force, like an unseen force, and I don't think that they're considered angels or demons. I think they're trans-dimensional beings that have figured out how to utilize us as food. And they took a serial killer. NASA did this experiment years ago. They took a serial killer. He'd been convicted of killing I forget how many people, and they put him in front of this special camera. This camera that captures psycho-spiritual energy. And you could literally see an entity inside of this man's head. And it looked like a small gray alien moving around. And they claim that a large percent of the population is under this influence and does not even know it. So you got to wonder, what is it that compels people to be such vile, nasty creatures? I mean, not necessarily just serial killers, but, you know, I know a lot of like vile, nasty, rotten people that don't kill people. You know, it's something is compelling them towards that behavior and feeding off of that behavior, feeding off the energy. So I think we're a food source to some type of parasitic entity that is transdimensional and alien in nature. It's not even necessarily spiritual. And you know, by making allies with entities of protection, you can protect yourself from that. And as far as a parasite being attached to someone, it's like you know, it's like a leech. The longer it stays attached, the more it feeds off you, the stronger it gets, and the more powerful its influence is over you. So it's really important to rid yourself of these things through ritual practices, and then put up protections around you to keep these things away from you.
No, absolutely. By the way, sorry.
Sorry.
I just remember the guy's name, John Wesley Harding.
Oh, cool. Do you? Sorry, I just wondered, with this archonic force, do you think it's taken over right now? You know, with what's going on, you know, we seem to be a bit repressed. It's probably going to get worse. Do you think that maybe it's taken over? A lot of people do think something alien has taken over. Do you think that this alien force has taken over right now?
I'd say that it's doing a damn good job of taking over. I don't think it's completely taken over yet, but yeah, the oppressive leash gets pulled tighter every single day, worldwide. So yeah, I think that I really think our reality has been infiltrated by something that we don't understand or even really know how to describe, that wants us completely subjugated like cattle, and they work through our nation's leaders in order to do so. So yeah, that's what's going on.
What would it do with us once it got us subjugated? What would it do with us?
Continue utilizing us as food and entertainment.
Oh, I see, like feeding off our pain, etc., etc.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really interesting that you mentioned this, because on Halloween, I went to a sacred spot near us, and it's near the river as well. And I raised Malpas. Yeah, okay. I didn't get a physical. Essentially, time stopped. The river stopped running. Everything went quiet. We had a complete contact with him. Yeah, and then I asked him about the getting rid of the so-called, sort of pandemic thing, and he replied that he couldn't do it. Okay, and I was with another adept, and after we kind of said thanks very much for coming and what have you, I was discussing it with the other adept, and he was saying that it would be impossible to stop it, because essentially there's like cycles where we have like the white and the black and the white and the black. And this is a cycle where we have the black. And to sort of, destroy that cycle, we may destroy the white cycle. I certainly agree with you. I think there is some kind of archonic force. And realistically, it won't stop until people find love, to put it bluntly, And at the moment, they're just in fear, and when you're in fear, you can't love, which is a shame. But and I think you're absolutely right. That's why it's getting more and more powerful, to put it bluntly.
Yeah.